Yuki wants to say hi. Come here. Come here. Come here. There he is. Say hey. He doesn't like it when I come in here and shut the door. There he is. Good boy. All right. Well, they don't. Okay, Chapter 8, The Gonnng. Louis, the yard teacher, was filling a green ball with air when the cloud of doom cast its gloomy shadow over the schoolyard. He felt an eerie chill as he pushed down on his air pump. Suddenly there was a loud bang, and the next thing Louis knew, he was lying on the blacktop. He slowly sat up. He wiggled his fingers, he stuck out his tongue, and moved it from side to side. What does that remind you of? Thinking back to the first book I read to you, the first Wayside book. He seemed to be okay. He stood up, still a little wobbly. Bits of green rubber were scattered across the playground. His air pump was on the other side of the dodgeball circle. The ball must have exploded from too much air, he realized. He always tried to put the maximum amount of air into each ball. The kids liked them bouncy. The bouncier, the better. He picked up a piece of green rubber, then another, and another. There already weren't enough balls to go around. The school couldn't afford to lose another one. He'd have to sew it back together. In the end, he found 23 pieces. It was unusually dark for this time of day. He hoped he hadn't missed any. The gong, he remembered. He hurried to the principal's office, stuffing cotton balls into his ears as he ran. "You're late, Louis," said Mr. Kidswatter, but Louis couldn't hear him. He wheeled the giant gong out of the office to the bottom of the stairs. At one time, the gong had been bright and shiny, but that was before Louis's time. Now it was dull and heavily dented. A large mallet, also made of iron, hung from a hook bolted to the gong's wood frame. Louis unhooked it, and then took a couple of steps backward to steady himself. The mallet was heavy, even for someone as strong as the yard teacher. He handed it to Mr. Kidswatter, who easily raised it over his shoulder. Mr. Kidswatter had thick arms, a thick neck, and a thick head. Louis started the countdown. 10, 9, 8. There was a red dot in the center of the gong. On the count of 1, Mr. Kidswatter swung the mallet and hit it dead center. Gong! Despite the cotton balls, the sound rattled inside Louis's head and echoed up and down the stairs. Louis took the mallet from Mr. Kidswatter and hung it back on its hook. He wheeled the gong off to the side just before a river of children flooded down the stairs. "Hi, Louis. Bye, Louis. See you tomorrow, Louis," they called to him as they ran by. He smiled and waved, but all he heard was, "Gong." "Why don't they ever say those things to me?" Mr. Kidswatter asked a little while later as they were leaving the school together. "Maybe if you did something nice," Louis suggested. "Like what?" asked the principal. "Maybe let a kid ring the gong?" "No way," snapped Mr. Kidswatter. "That's the best part about being principal." "Or how about getting some more balls for recess?" Louis suggested. "Too expensive," said Mr. Kidswatter. "What if I pay for them?" asked Louis. Mr. Kidswatter laughed. "You? Where would you get that kind of money? Did you rob a bank?" "I have money," said Louis. "I've written some books about Wayside School." "And you got paid for that?" Mr. Kidswatter asked. Louis shrugged. Mr. Kidswatter frowned. Louis hoped he hadn't broken a law. "Do you mention me in the books?" asked Mr. Kidswatter. "Maybe once or twice," Louis admitted. "You don't say anything bad about me, do you?" Said Louis. "You should write a chapter about me," declared Mr. Kidswatter. "Call it The Best Principal Ever, with 3 exclamation points. "First, you would have to do something that makes you the best principal ever," Louis explained. "Like what?" "Let a kid ring the gong." This time, Mr. Kidswatter didn't snap at Louis. He was thinking about it. Louis looked up at the gloomy cloud. He hadn't paid much attention to science back when he was going to school. He didn't know it was a cloud of doom. Had he known, he never would have made such a dangerous suggestion to Mr. Kidswatter.